I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these last few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. I've been telling old stories, singing songs that make me think about where I come from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. But if I should become a stranger, no, it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving, lost the friends that I needed losing, found others on the way. I have kissed the fellas and left them sighing, stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I've travelled hard sometimes with conscience flying, somewhere with the wind. Let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. But if I should become a stranger, no, it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had.
Hello, that was Dolores Keane, and I want to introduce you to the genealogy radio show, Drawing Up Your Family Tree. My name is Lorna Moloney, and I'm a practicing genealogist. That means I draw up family trees research and research family histories. I also undertake heritage projects. I have many genealogy hats, and I am the resident genealogist for Dromoland Castle in Newmarket. I also coordinate a genealogy summer school at UCC, Ancestral Connections, and I have a practice-based company researching in County Clare. But this programme today, the Genealogy Radio show, aims to assist listeners with their family history knowledge. Today's episode will look up drawing up your family tree. And it's important to cover strategies required to start tracing your family tree and provide some help on how to proceed with this family journey. Genealogy is not like any other hobby or study, and often people look at it and they think, oh, what is that? It sounds very boring. But it encompasses a wide range of subjects: geography, history, archaeology, genetics, science, and for instance, genealogy can be defined as the following: the study of family origins and history, found in most parts of the world and international in scope. Originally, it was concerned with tracing family and aristocratic, dynastic or clerical lines. But now, with the internet, genealogy has broadened its scope over the centuries, and since the internet revolution, many people pursue it as an interest or course of study. Hundreds of years ago, genealogical information was passed on orally through family stories, usually as a list of names. Later generations recorded this information, and divine origins were often ascribed to kings and heroes. Genealogists frequently use artefacts, including ancient records, coins, deeds, tapestries, paintings and monuments, to help them with their work. But what we need to be concerned is with the descent of a person, family or group from an ancestor. And this means your descent from your great-grandfather or great-grandmother, or the descent of a person, family from a pedigree such as the story of the branch of the O'Hallorans, the story of the McNamaras, the story of the Maloneys, the story of the Murphys. Genealogy can also include an account of the origin and historical development of a clan, an organisation, an institution, or a famous person. But what I suppose is most important is to remember that each and every member of your family has a unique story to tell. As family members grow old and pass away, the memories of these stories gradually fade over time. It is often said that when an old person dies, a library burns. Once this precious information about your family history is lost, it may never be recovered again. This is why it's so important to start building a family tree while your relatives are alive, whether you get along with them or not. Because it's such a unique way to preserve personal memories and important facts that make your family what it is today, a deeply important part of your life. Please remember, you do not have to be any kind of expert if you want to create your own family tree or any special project. You can just really start with yourself, and you're in control of the project at all times. You can go back as far as your ancestry as you choose, and there is no rule set in stone that specifies where you must begin tracing your family history. Although there have been many genealogists, though, that became so engrossed with drawing up their family tree that they took their research all the way back to biblical times. Just as it was the fashion in the 16th century, the fashion in Tudor times was to go back to Adam. In some pedigrees, in Irish pedigrees, they go back as far as Noah and the time of the flood. It will always be up to you what to include and exclude, and the following strategies, which I call the big three, that help you in this quest. And they're really out of place compared to the way some people usually start. Because some people usually start researching and then talk. They leave it to the last minute to talk to people or talk to their relatives. So I'm going to start with strategy 1. Start with yourself. Start with yourself in the family tree. Scope the information. This means gathering what you already know about your family. Autumn is a great time to do this. Look at your family photograph album. Read your family papers. Examine family records, old letters, photocopies or certificates. Collect the memorial cards, school reports, wills, birth certs and so on. Then talk to your living relatives. Ask your relations, cousins, aunts, uncles about their memories. Don't just ask for facts and dates. Get the story about what it was like to grow up when they did. Get the story about where they grew up. Place is as important as dates and times. Get a sense of what they remember. This takes time, and make time for it. Do not just corner people at family gatherings and aim to speak to your relatives because they're all together at the one time more than once. People tend to get annoyed if they feel that you're drilling them for information, and it is always best to have a diplomatic, gentle interview approach. We've all met the rabid genealogy researcher, and they have a style reminiscent of the Spanish Inquisition. It is best to adopt a conversational approach. People may feel uncomfortable being taped, so it's often better to take discreet notes or write the information shortly after leaving the conversation. You'll get more information that way, and it's more relaxed. So once you have all that information, starting with yourself, the strategy 2 comes in. Draw up your family tree on paper. A little quote to start is, our family tree is like the branches of a tree. We may grow in different directions, yet our roots remain as one. So write down what you know and fill out a generation pedigree chart. We're going to have a generation pedigree chart uploaded onto the website www.rcb.ie, and there'll be a section put up next week for that. So if you don't know what a generation pedigree chart is, don't worry about that, because there'll be a little one available, and they will be free of charge. And do not worry about what you don't know, for instance, birthdays, deaths, certain uncles, various missing aunts, grandfathers, lost grandmothers, elusive great-aunts. Concentrate on what you do know. Remember, this is a journey. You do not have to fill in all the missing information today. It can be a leisurely trip. And remember that money doesn't grow on trees, but ancestors do. Strategy 3. Research. Many people incorrectly assume that this strategy should come first. It is not the best outcome, as too much research and not enough outputs really tires you out and just gives you copious amounts of paper, which are meaningless, and you have not actually focused your research properly. So research should be manageable, and the first thing to do here is identify your most recent mystery. This may be an aunt or an uncle who went to England or the US, who migrated to different counties and are just plain on the missing list. Families are complex and have unusual stories to tell. People lose track of each other, especially after parents die or if parents die young. On a personal level, perhaps there's been a falling out between siblings at your parents' level. This can lead to a loss of information about first cousins, and it can also happen due to emigration. It really helps to keep the family history lines open if communications can be kept intact. And it also will give you the confidence to solve recent mysteries and to realise that history changes and perceptions of events alters over time. For instance, it may have been difficult to highlight Irish relatives who fought in World War I in Ireland, or just as it would be difficult to highlight those who had served in the IRA if you lived in England. So all these things are factors that you need to consider when researching the family tree. Searching the web or internet, Google searches or websites of interest, and by subscription or free, is a part of your research strategy step. This part of the programme looks at specific website, as Ireland is such a wonderful source of genealogical information, totally free of charge. Many people may not really be aware of that. It is one of the few countries offering its 1901 and 1911 census free of charge for the National Archive. The National Archives of Ireland has a dedicated genealogy resource showing many other sources: soldiers' wills, remnants of 1851 and 1841 census, the tithe allotments, and so on. And from the National Archives, you can now access the census records for 1901 and 1911. You just need to locate and browse the search boxes and try and find out the townland that your relatives are from, as it doesn't search by parish. The National Archives also has the calendars of wills and administrations from 1858 to 1922. And this site will have a large number of other genealogical records added to it over the coming years, including the Valuation Office House and Field Books, 1848 to 60. All of these records are free to access through searchable databases and linked images of relevant pages. Eventually, they hope that the site will contain all of the most important and easily accessible genealogical material in the custody of the National Archives. The website address for the National Archives is www.nationalarchives.ie, and we'll put up a link of all these sources on the RCB website at rcb.ie. This show will have a dedicated set of experts each week on interview to talk us through the wonderful treasures inherent in such sources. As Ireland was one of the most mapped countries in Europe, and mapped at an earlier time than its other earlier European counterparts, we have wonderful sources available at the OSI, and again, information on how to source these gems will be uploaded. But we also have another wonderful source, Ask About Ireland. And sometimes when you're searching, it really gives you great encouragement when you've searched for people, when you find responses. So Ask About Ireland has what's known as a census substitute called Griffith's valuation. So when you're stuck after 1901 or you want to go back further, you can actually go back between 1848 and 1864 through the primary valuation, which was known as a census substitute. Ask About Ireland provides this free of charge, and really it's a wonderful account of who lived in the various parishes in the middle of the 19th century. It's important to remember that Griffith's valuation didn't take place all in the 1 year. Richard Griffith was a geologist, and he'd lived in Ireland for many, many years. He was involved in the Ordnance Survey, and he was told to produce this primary valuation so that anyone who rented over 1 acre would be tagged as such, and they would have to pay so much on a rateable set of lands. So when Clare was done in the Griffiths valuation, perhaps Tipperary hadn't been, and various parishes' records take place between 1848 and 1864. So really post-famine, it provides a snapshot in time that is so valuable a legacy. Because when you compare it to other sources such as the 1901 and 1911 census, and then you go back further to the tithe allotments, which happened between 1824 and 1838, and we will have a designated expert to come in and talk to us about the tithe allotments, you get to see a full picture of where your family may have moved between parish to parish, or what happened to them after the famine. Did they emigrate, or did branches of them emigrate, and so on. So this wonderful resource, Ask About Ireland, is managed by the Libraries Development, supported by the Department of the Environment, Community and Local Government, with funding from the Information Society Fund. It's very easy to find it online. Just Google Ask About Ireland. You can also find very rare books that you can download in PDF form, and it has a wealth of material on pedigrees. Aidan Ferrick of Ancestral Network will talk to us about the Griffiths valuation through this later programme in intense detail. And such sources frequently show us where your ancestors lived, who they lived beside, how much land they rented from the landlords, who the landlords were, what tithes they had to pay and what tithes they refused to pay, and whether they might be on a tithe defaulter list as well. Many of you might remember from school or other sources what a tithe was. It was 1/10 of your income. And from 1824 to 1838, this was no longer acceptable as a living payment, meaning one time before that you could pay it in your hens and geese and eggs and cattle. After 1824, you had to find the cash to pay. And all these are recorded in the tithe allotments in pre-famine. At a more local level in County Clare here, we have the wonderful Clare website. This is truly one of the best free genealogy resources around. And it is available at clarelibrary.ie. It contains online sources, donated materials, sources reaching back to the 17th century, an exciting collection of sources second to none. It has historical maps, directories, history of Clare families, and, for example, John Fireball McNamara. Today, McNamara is one of the most numerous names in County Clare. The Irish form of the name means Hound of the Sea. John Fireball McNamara was a very famous duellist, and he used to call his pistols Bás gan sagart, death without a priest. He was involved in 30 duels, killing 2 of his fellow officers who had teased him about his Irish ancestry. Michael Hogan recorded a lovely ballad about him, and he termed him the great and glorious McNamara, the heart and nerve that never shook, the hand that left no mark unstruck. To conclude then, we need to remind you of the big three, the strategies of finding, the strategies of drawing, and then the strategy of researching, necessary to undertake and complete your family legacy journey. My name is Lorna Moloney, and I can be reached at merrimanresearch@gmail.com, but we'll put all the information sheets on the rcb.ie website. And if you would like to be interviewed for the show and have a genealogy story to tell, it would be great if you could write in and tell this, and do not hesitate to contact us at RCB Radio Corkabashkin, available on broadcast at 94.8 FM and online Monday to Friday 2 to 9, Saturday Sunday 2 to 5. The contact telephone number is 065 908 3022. Your family stories are unique but provide a valuable legacy for others. Our programme will commence next week with an interview on graveyards with Michael O'Connor, and we're really looking forward to that. And then we're going to start the themes of crime, fosterage, agricultural records, record keeping, family history, organisation tips and assistance when compiling your family legacy.
Stained glass streaming light and a yellow colored lampshade used to keep us up all night, and a smile upon your face, the tears upon your cheek, and the night sky on the window, your heart calling out to me, come running from your eye, the mirror that won't talk, and your nightgown on the door, and the old pedal singer just don't sing no more. You can roll the reels for hours from the movie of this book. It's a question mark on this heart of mine, sends an elder back to look. Come running home again, Katie, come running home again. Cross my heart and hope to die. Shall I cause another tear from your eye, Katie? Tunnel back into the room with the genius of a druid when the sunlight floods the tomb, and I'm never going back there, and I could